The Bobcat men win in front of a raucous crowd in Cheney, Washington, sending the Eastern Eagles on a 2-game losing streak going into the Big Sky Conference tourney, while the ladies drop senior night in Bozeman.
Manhattan Bank has been serving the Gallatin Valley since 1905. Started by local farmers in order to help grow the agriculture industry, Manhattan Bank has since grown into a full-service bank serving the entire valley. With branches in Manhattan, Churchill, Three Forks, and Bozeman, you're never far from your local bank.
As banks are consolidating and changing, Manhattan Bank sets themselves apart through consistency and a small-town banking feel. Come see why we have been in the Valley for well over 100 years. Stop by the new building in Bozeman. See Justin Skillman and Tyler Dosher for your business banking and Brad Whitmer for your home loans. Go Cats.
Member FDIC.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. This is one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network. And we're sponsored by the Dang Bank, Manhattan Bank, taking care of all your banking needs in the Gallatin County. They got 4 locations, Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, and Three Forks. We thank them for being our Dank sponsors this year. It's tourney time, Thorny. We just got done with basketball, men's and women's, against Eastern Washington tonight. Yours truly, Ryan Foley, was at the men's game over in Cheney. I can't wait to talk about it.
Can't wait to hear about it, man. Yeah, I sent out the picture on the Twitter of your on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground photography skills there, letting everyone know that Foley's in town to check out the game. And, well, yeah, what a monumental win for the men and a pretty disappointing loss for the women. And we'll get into those a little bit.
All right. So, yeah, that's pretty much on the docket. We're just going to freeform this thing. We're just going to go for it. I'm riding the high. I just got home. It was a straight ice rink out there out of Cheney, man. It was really dicey. We were getting this snowstorm tonight and almost got plowed into by a minivan in my new car. Whew, I made it, though.
Glad to see you back home safe.
I took Miles with me, my oldest son. He's like, Dad, are we going to make it home? And I was like, yes, we're going to make it home. Just be calm in the backseat. I got this. I don't know if everybody else got it, but I got this.
That's right. I can't wait to hear about it, man. Do we just want to launch right into it, or do we want to talk about what's in our beer first, or drive
let's talk about what's in our golden coolie, man. What's in the golden coolie?
Yeah, I don't have that loaded up yet. I'll get it fixed at some point in my life. I have Lewis and Clark Brewing Company Miners Gold Hefeweizen on cue tonight.
Miners Gold,
classic. Solid, yeah, it's a really good Hefeweizen. Yeah, good brewery, Lewis and Clark. They make some good stuff.
Yeah, Tumbleweed IPA is one of my favorite IPAs. That comes out of Lewis and Clark, but Miners Gold. Yeah, wow, what a great pale ale. Dang, man, they got some bangers over there. All right, good call, man. I have a Rainier. I picked them up this weekend, and I'm not going to apologize. A cold Rainier, Pacific Northwest pale ale.
We're from Washington, man. There's nothing to apologize about drinking Rainier over here. Right? Well, not from Washington, but we live in Washington. So acceptable at any time as a Washingtonian now. Well, there we go. We got a beer. I have a couple beers in me because I was drinking while I was watching the game. I assume you were not over there in Cheney. I don't know if they allow beer in the stands in Cheney, Washington or not. But tell us about it, man.
Yeah,
They do?
Yeah, so over at Reese Court, they were selling beers, but I knew I shouldn't get a beer. Like I got the water, I got the popcorn. I did not want to drive all the way back to Spokane with any alcohol in the system, which was a good call for me, especially at the roads like they were, man. Coming out of that parking lot, it was dicey. I can't stress that enough. It was really stressful getting home. We got home about 9:00 tonight. But man, Reese Court, those Eagle fans, they brought it, dude. I gotta admit, like Montana State had that game in hand for all but the last 7 minutes. And it's like typical Montana State fashion, right? Like people are texting me. They're like, oh man, you picked a good game to go to. And I'm like, I'm just holding my breath right now because I know what's coming. We're going to go on a scoring drought, and then Eastern's just going to hit every shot every remarkable. Just fall away threes from Venters. Venters could not miss. All of a sudden they couldn't miss. What's interesting about Eastern, just a short point, is they can all shoot. They're big men. Every single one of them can stroke the three. So they were just hitting, a couple shots just to keep them in. And then, oh my gosh, they got loud. Defense, pow, pow, defense. And I was sweating. Miles, my son, was just putting his hands over his ears, like just covering them up, going, oh no, oh no. And, but man, we did it. Last year I went and we didn't do it. And the year before I went and we didn't do it. And there's been a lot of years I went over to Cheney when I've watched our Bobcats lose, and we pulled it out tonight. And Danny Sprinkle, when we won, he was over there, goes, that's what we do. That's what we do. I was like, heck yeah, you go.
And then he's going to go into the locker room. They're going to celebrate, and he's going to be like, but the rent still due. That's what he says, right?
Oh, man, that was a fun game.
Yeah, the crowd always seemed to affect the Bobcats there late in the game. Like they were getting a little bit rattled by the environment, it looked like, on TV.
It was loud. It was really loud. I want to give props to Eastern because they brought it. They really did. And that was a packed house. I don't know if the cameras ever panned to the crowd, but Reese Court, not like the Brick. It's very tight, very on top, and not many seats, but I would say it's probably like 3,000 people in there. Maybe not that tonight, but it was loud. It really was.
I will die on this hill. A full small stadium is always better than a half empty huge stadium.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we were keeping that like 12-point lead somewhere in there. And you texted me, you're like, man, if they get this to single points, it's going to be go time. And you were exactly right. Soon as Venters hit a 3 and cut it to like 9 points, they got loud. Everybody stood up. And then we just had a rash of turnovers. We couldn't get a shot off. We had like a shot clock violation from Raekwon there. Tyler Patterson was fumbling the ball around a couple times. And we just lost. We just lost our rhythm that we were going through, and it just felt like every game I've been there. Like every game, I'm like, holy cow, this is happening again. But it didn't, man. We pulled it out. I was kind of salty to those Eastern crowds too. I was sitting next to this couple. I gotta tell you a story, man. I was sitting next to this couple, and I was like, we were like high-fiving throughout the game. And so my son turns around, Miles goes, hey, my dad does this podcast. And this lady goes, what podcast is that? And, so we had the little talk about the R&R. She's like, you guys live in Spokane? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a teacher over at this middle school that I'm not going to name here on the podcast. She goes, oh yeah, my son goes there. I was like, no crap. So, but I was, I did the good old, like when we sealed the game, I did the good old wave to the crowd as they were shuffling out. And then the Eastern students were jockeying with me a little bit. They were yelling at me from across the court. Not that I was like trying to start anything. There was probably like 20 Montana State fans around me, if that. And I gave them the old triple X pow to the crotchal region, and I immediately kind of like laughed, and I was like, I don't know if a 40-year-old man should be doing that anymore, but that was kind of fun.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't have any beer in you, because if that's you not drinking, I could only imagine how that would have gone if you were riding the booze high there. And are you sure that those students across the way were targeting you specifically? Were you just standing out that much? Like, that guy, let's taunt that Montana State fan right there. Is that what you're saying?
I think I was. I kind of get into it. You know me as a fan. I like to egg on. I like to poke the bear a little bit. And I've been living in the belly of the beast over here in Eastern Washington for many years. And these Eastern fans have really just ticked me off for about
Gotten
good
on your
8
skin a
years
little
now.
bit,
So,
yes.
yeah, it feels good, man. It feels really good. Knowing full well we probably have to play those guys again in a week. So
Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately it doesn't matter. This game meant nothing in terms of seeding, and it will mean nothing in terms of the next matchup, really. So, I mean, whoever gets the last win, if it comes to us both in the championship game, which is a huge if, but if it comes to that, I mean, that's going to be the last laugh. Doesn't matter after that.
Yeah. You know what it does mean, though, Thorny, is Montana State didn't shy away from the moment. That was a big moment tonight. It was Eastern's senior night. Angelo Allegri was being honored, and that guy is a baller, right? Him and Steele Venters are just two unbelievable players for the Eastern Washington Eagles. Unfortunately, Steele Venters was not honored on the senior night, so we'll see him again next year. But Montana State did not shy away in the shooting woes we've seen over the last 5 games, like the 20% from 3-point land and 30-some% from the field. We didn't have that today. We came out shooting hot, and our defense was unbelievable. We knew we outscored them mightily in the first half. And you and I texted, we're like, man, hold on, hold your seats. And there's a couple guys I knew over there in the crowd, and I was talking to them at halftime. I was like, this is going to be different in the second half. I know this story. I know how this thing goes. They're like, yeah, me too. Like, get ready. Hold on. And I kept thinking to myself, Tourney, I was like, man, if we can get this game to 5 minutes and hold a 12-point lead, we got this. Like, I just felt that. And it was, I can't recall, but I think it was something close to that. But at that point, I was like, momentum was shifting. And then Reese Stadium was just off the rocker, man. They were into it so hardcore.
It's one of those games where, all right, we got like a 15-point lead or whatever. You just keep glancing down that clock, and you're like, how is there still 12 minutes left in this game? Like, it's going to take forever, and it's just going to be painful, and it's not going to last. It's going to get close, because that's how every single Montana State game seems to go. We seem to get a lead in the halftime, and then we kind of build the lead in the second half, and then we just let every team come back into it and then win in dramatic fashion all the time. I don't know if we run out of gas from playing such high intensity defense that we eventually just kind of chill out. I don't know if this is some sort of a sprinkle gets a little too conservative. I texted you at one point, can't get too conservative here. And I think there was a miscommunication at the time, because you texted me back a little bit, what are you talking about? But there was a couple times where we walked it down there with 13, 12 minutes left and didn't even start the offense until 15 seconds into the play clock. We were getting a little too conservative, but it happens every time, man. And you knew it was going to happen. But the fact that the Cats withstood the barrage and got the few points they needed to hold on to the win, I mean, that's what we do, right? That's what Danny Sprinkle says. That's how the Cats have been operating.
That's what we do.
You got to like a team like the Bobcats who play solid defense and who's won close game after close game in a Big Sky tournament. This is all going to pay dividends into the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was really clear to me that the Bobcats really wanted to milk the clock. I mean, like you just said, they weren't starting their sets until 15 seconds into the shot clock. And you're right. Absolutely, you're right. And I honestly thought that was the good plan, because Eastern was pushing the ball down the floor. As soon as they inbounded the ball, they weren't walking it. They were pushing it down the floor, and they couldn't miss, right? They got hot. 7 minutes are left into the game. Wouldn't Venters have three-pointers back to back to back? I mean, at one point he had a step back, fall away 3, and you're like, are you kidding me? How's that not? How many times
we don't have a single player on the roster who can hit a shot like that?
Yeah. How many times this game did we get that a contested rebound that went to Eastern, and then they shot and they had a rebound, and then it was like all of a sudden like Montana State's making play after play after play, and then the ball bounces Eastern's way, and then they get a 3-point play out of that. And you're like, come on. You couldn't buy a stop at the end either. It was just classic Eastern Montana State. Whether you want to put this in the football realm or the basketball realm, it felt like the classic Eastern Montana State matchup.
It did. And man, we had some solid performances. Raekwon Battle had himself a game, even though he had to be taken out of the game for large chunks of the second half because he got into foul trouble of all things from Raekwon Battle. Yeah. Still finished with a team high 16 points. Darius Brown had more, but he had 16 points. He was the whole offense in the first half. I feel like almost all those 16 points had to have been in the first half. And they were holding him out in the last half. And I texted you, like, they're going to have to bring in Battle here in the last few minutes because like 5 or 6 minutes left because, if they keep getting it closer, we got to bring him in 4 fouls or whatever. Get him in there. If he fouls out, he fouls out, but we need some points. And of course, he comes in and doesn't do a whole lot and gets stuffed by Steel Venters as the shot clock expires, which is the shot clock violation you were referring to, but he got completely rejected in the process. Yeah, man, Darius Brown, though, holy cow. That was the most clutch I've seen Brown since probably the first Cat Grizz. 18 points on 7 for 9 from the field goals and 3 for 5 from downtown, 5 defensive rebounds and 4 assists, a steal. Man, Brown just fills up the stat sheet, like every single stat you want. And whether his shot is falling or not, he's still getting rebounds, he's still getting steals. That's what he does. He plays such good defense, man. He was in the face of every single defender or player for Eastern Washington, and he shut down a lot of guys and he created a lot of havoc. And I'm surprised I only see one steal. Like I feel like he maybe deflected the ball and someone else got the ball, and that doesn't count as a steal. But he was he was all over the place, and it's good to see his shot back. And he hit that clutch 3-pointer late in the game when the Cats really needed a bucket. There were 2 seconds left on the shot clock. He nails a 3-pointer. I'm just pumping my fists in there. I'm like, yes, Brown, there we go. It's like, now I think that might be what we needed to win the game.
You're right. He had a couple deflections, and those were the ones that would just end up in the hands of the Eastern Eagles, and they would get a score out of that. You were just like, man, we were so stinking close to getting a stop there. But I want to speak a little bit about Brown in another way. One thing that I don't know if it came across on the screen, but I could really sense it when I was there because I was sitting pretty close. I was probably like three rows from the court. He does such a good job at running the point. When he has the ball in his hands, like it just puts the offense in a better flow. Like Ford did a great job tonight too. I think Ford had some really clutch free throws. But when Brown is running the point, man, he orchestrates that so well. He's such a good floor general. And I was watching him in the timeouts, and that's one thing you don't get to see. The timeouts are really interesting. I'm sure some of the listeners know what I'm talking about, but the timeouts really have 2 separate things going on at the same time. At the very beginning of a timeout, the players meet and they talk. And it's just a player run meeting. And they converse and they really listen to each other. It's really awesome to see. There's really great communication going on. And it seems like there's a lot of, hey, yeah, I got you, man. And there's a lot of fist bumping and like, yes, I hear what you're saying. And everybody has a voice. Even guys on the bench are piping in. And then the coaches are meeting and discussing what's going on. And then towards the end of the timeout, they then come together. But these pre-meetings that go on at the very beginning, Darius was very animated, and you could tell he has such command of his peers. Man, he's so good at what he's doing. He's a calming presence on the offensive side and such a lockdown defender, like you've been saying.
Yeah, if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know who deserves it more than Darius Brown. Granted, I don't watch a lot of Big Sky basketball outside of the Bobcats, but I don't see anyone affecting the game the way that Darius Brown does. And yeah, his command of the offense is truly special to watch. And we've had a good string of point guards, starting with Harold Frey. It's good to see Bobcats back in like good hands in the point guard realm. Speaking, man, Robert Ford, I gotta give a shout out to Robert Ford here. Led the team with 10 rebounds, coming off the bench as
And
a
he was
guard.
hustling.
He was hustling. His stat line's pretty crazy. He got 12 points, but he only hit 2 field goals. So he had the most free throws and the most free throw attempts of anyone on the team. He had 10 rebounds, 4 of them offensive rebounds. He had 2 steals and an assist. Got to give a huge shout out, man. Like, Robert Ford played a really good game. His shot still isn't quite falling. He was 2 for 5 from downtown, though. That's pretty good, but 2 for 8 overall. But yeah, man, hustling, getting those boards, getting those steals. He was a huge part of the reason the Bobcats won today in the 23 minutes that he played.
You're right.
Especially when Battle was in foul trouble, because it was mostly Ford who was getting those minutes later in the game.
Yeah. I thought Caleb Fuller had himself a decent game. He's a good defender, man.
He is a good defender.
He was getting he was getting his butt chewed a little bit by Sprinkle on the offensive side, but he was playing lockdown minutes out there. It's fun to watch the Bobcats play some good defense. It's good to see them hit the shots too. Hitting 36.8% from three-point land. That's refreshing. That's really refreshing. It was nice.
Yeah.
Because every time Eastern had an answer, we would come back down, hit a big shot. We're like, yeah, man, we're keeping this up. We were able to hold that lead for such a long time until it wasn't. And then shooting 52%, almost 53% from the field feels really good.
I mean, yeah, 36.8 from downtown is very refreshing. But, I mean, that's not like a crazy number. I mean, the Bobcats don't need to shoot crazy three-point percentage to be able to be a really good team.
No.
They win games shooting 17%. If they could just shoot like 30 to the 33 range consistently, like that, they'd be a very difficult team to beat. But yeah, 36.8, it was really good on a high volume too, 7 of 19. Yeah, we shot like 3 for 5 on Saturday for a good percentage, but it's 5 attempts. 7 for 19, that's good volume, and shooting 36.8, that's what you like to see.
Yeah. Darius Brown carrying the night, 7 for 9. Bello 7 for 8. You know who impressed me? The guy we haven't seen in a while, Nick Gonzalez, hitting spot up twos. In clutch moments. Good for him. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, 2 for 2 and a steal. So not big numbers, but 14 minutes. Gonzalez was such a productive player last year. He's had such a I don't want to say disappointing year. He's just not playing like he did last year for whatever reason. But good to see him knock down a couple shots. Probably good for his confidence because we need everybody we can going to the tournament. His name might be called at some point for some reason, and you got to be able to rely on him. And it was good to see him get some buckets.
All right. Hey, tip your cap to the Bobcats. They won 22 games this year.
It's crazy.
Woo!
It's crazy.
It's awesome, man.
Just a couple days ago, you were wanting to get on the mic and say some complete opposite type words. And do you still feel that way? I'm just curious.
Emotional guy, man. Yeah, I'm the emotional guy around here. I do get upset when I see the Bobcats shooting like 19% from 3-point land. When certain players that we talked about ad nauseum can't knock down a 3-point shot, and that's their job in the offense is to hit the 3-point job. It makes me a little bit upset. So,
sure.
I guess I just wanted. Here's what I think my big gripe was this, Tourney. I just wanted the Bobcats to go into the Big Sky Conference with momentum on their back, not just trying to win games defensively, but being able to put a complete game together. I feel like the Montana State. This was a good game for Montana State. Was it a complete game? No, but it was a great win in a very, very tough environment.
Yeah, in a game that shouldn't have mattered for either team, but both teams clearly wanted it. Both coaches, both teams played like this was championship on the line. This was a heavyweight title fight. And yeah, it made absolutely no difference. I guess you could argue maybe it would have helped slightly your seeding projections if you planned on winning the tournament and going to the big dance. This win on the resume would have been the last final thing to get you maybe from a potential 16 to a 15 or a 15 to a 14. Nobody's getting higher than a 14 probably, but yeah, big moment. And the Cats spoiled Eastern's senior night. Gotta love it. because on the other side of things, Eastern completely spoiled the women's senior night in Bozeman, which is pretty disappointing. I'm pretty disappointed in that loss. That was not a good loss. The Cats could have wrapped up the number 1 seed. Instead, they lost, created some sort of crazy 3-way tie now with NAU, SAC, and Montana State all sharing the conference title because the Bobcats couldn't take care of business at home on senior night against Eastern Washington, who, not that great of a women's program. So kind of almost the opposite results of what you would have maybe bet money on heading into this night. Women at home, probably a good bet. Men on the road at Cheney, not bad money on Eastern there, but complete flip-flop of maybe the favorites.
Wasn't able to catch the women's game, although they announced the final score in the last 3 minutes of the game over there. It just put Reese on edge even more. I was like, full tilt. Here we go. We're going to do this thing over again. We're going to lose this game.
That came across on TV, and I'm like, man, that was smart. They're doing that to they probably waited to say that to galvanize the fans and the team. Like, all right, now let's pull it out, boys. Let's pull out the score from the women's game.
Yeah.
But I think the Cats end up with the 2 or 3 seed. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just cool to see the number 1, number 2 teams playing a big time environment. It felt like a big time environment. That was a good game, man. And it sucks that Montana State and Eastern won't get a seed in the tournament. It really does. I mean, the Big Sky Conference being a 1-bid team is what it is, but it makes basketball less fun ultimately, right? Another thing,
what do you mean?
Tourney, I want to talk to you about this, and there's something I wanted to get to. Let's talk about the way the conference sets up the bracket, because you posted something today in Bobcat Nation about maybe an alternative for that, making our bracket probably, or the way we played the conference tournament in Boise, a little bit more, and fun's not the word, but a little bit different. What was your thought on that?
Well, I mean, I posted it because it's interesting, and kudos to Chappie from the Weaver State Weekly. He's the one who posted it in our little chat there, and I had not seen it. I was not familiar with the WCC's bracket, how they set up a tournament, but it's crazy looking. There's basically the semifinals, the number 1 and the number 2 seed are already there. They are guaranteed a semifinal game. They only have to win 1 game to get into the championship game. And what this does is it protects the conference by giving you the best outcome for most likely your 2 best teams, the best path to a bid. Now, in this case, WCC, it doesn't matter. St. Mary's and Gonzaga are both going to get a bid to the tournament, but that's not the case in the Big Sky Conference. You want your best team, or at least if it's a 1A and 1B situation, you want one of those 2 teams to go dancing. You don't want the 6th seed to come storming in and win the championship. It's a cool story, but they're going to get stomped. You don't want a team with a losing record going into because they're going to go to the play-in game. You want at least your best foot forward, and the tournament bracket as it sets up in the WCC almost guarantees that. The lower seeds start way back there in the first round, second round, quarterfinals, semifinals, and championships. So if you're a 9 seed, you have to win 1, 2, 3, 4 games to get into the championship game. Whereas the number 1 and number 2 seed only have to win 1 game. So it makes it a much tougher path for the lower seeds, and almost guarantees a 1 and a 2 seed will be playing 1 or a 2 seed, or if not both, will be playing in the championship game. So I think that's kind of something the Big Sky Conference should look at. I don't know what it does for travel or attendance in the neutral site. I don't care about all that. I just want the best team from the Big Sky to dance every year.
Well, it would incentivize getting the 2 seed, the 1 and 2 seed in the preseason, right? And even so, the 3 and the 4,
they're no different.
The quarterfinals, the first time the 3 and the 4 play are in the quarterfinals, so it rewards the play in the conference, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I like that.
So that was cool. But as it is, the Bobcats are the number 2. The men are the number 2 seed, and we knew that before this game was played tonight. But I don't have the bracket in front of me. I was trying to load it on the Big Sky website. It was crashing. I don't know all the seeding and stuff. Obviously, we're on the opposite side of Eastern Washington, and I believe we're on the opposite side of the Grizz. Although I don't know, they won tonight, so I don't think anything changed. I don't think anything changed today, but it changed for the women drastically with the loss.
1-4,
the men
1-4 are on one side, and then 2 and 3 are on the other. That's interesting.
I think so.
Would you rather?
I'm not.
Buy or sell? Would you rather face buy or sell? I would rather face the Grizz than Eastern Washington in the playoffs.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I think I'd probably rather face the Grizz, I guess.
Yeah, so you're buying that. Me too.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I mean, Eastern can shoot it anytime. We get into a game with the Grizz, it's going to be a slobber knocker. But obviously the loss would sting worse if it's the Grizz because they'll have bragging rights over you. But I'd like our chances probably better to beat the Grizz again. But they can shoot the long ball too. I don't know. We played pretty ugly against the Grizz last time too. So, yeah. But the Grizz are not playing so hot either. But, this is now two losses in a row for Eastern Washington. All of a sudden, the team that the longest winning streak in the country, week in and week out, now they're riding a 2-game losing streak into the tournament. That's not what you want to do. I think the Cats got 6 in a row or something. Sure. 6 wins, something.
I'm not sure on that. But yeah. Well, I think I'd rather face the Grizzlies as well. If we can, the Josh Bannon, Anand Moody duo, if you can silence them, you're pretty much I think you can win that game. We have more dynamic players than the Grizzlies do. I think we should be able to, if we come against them, we should be able to handle those guys.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the bracket here. I may have actually found it, but is it filled in? Is it current? Who knows? No, it's not. So, oh well. The Cats' first game is on Sunday. I know that. That's when the 2 seed plays the winner of the 7 and the 8. I wish I knew this. We could maybe we'll do another episode before the game on Sunday. We'll see. We'll see about that. I'm not sure. But man, yeah. Good end of the season for the Bobcats. Going into the season or the tournament with the best possible outcome, the most momentum that you could have, and we're pretty healthy. I think we're as healthy as we were pretty much all year. I don't think there's no major injuries. If there would have been any minor injuries, I think Sprinkle would have held guys out for the last couple of games that meant nothing in terms of seeding, but all the guys played, and nobody got hurt tonight against Eastern Washington, so gotta love it. The women, not so hot going into the tournament, losing at home, but I still think that the Bobcats have a good chance on the women's side too, because I think that's pretty open on the women's side. I think there's 3 teams. Obviously, there's 3 teams that finish for a co-champ situation, and the men's side, I think, is most likely. If you had to bet, I would bet it'd be a rematch between Eastern and MSU. But it's a tournament, man. It's the Big Sky tournament. Nobody is really that good. Upsets can easily happen in this thing.
Yeah, you're right. And that makes that WCC format also much better in my brain, right? Montana State, Eastern Washington have really worked hard to get where they're at. Putting those guys in the semifinal regardless feels right. The fact that Montana State could get balanced by Portland State, maybe, on a fluky night on Sunday feels just like you get robbed a little bit. But hey, we are who we are, and we're in the Big Sky Conference, and so you just got to go out and win it. Can't make any excuses right now. Just enjoy the ride. 22 wins, 9 losses. We had 3 losses in conference, and that's something that kind of got to me tonight. I was like, hey, we tied with Eastern as 22-9 in the record. We lost to Weber State in conference. We had an early loss to Idaho. That one stings, man. At Idaho, 74.
I was just gonna say that. You heard me kind of interject there. I was gonna say, like, how bad is that Idaho loss now? Ugh.
Yeah,
Idaho just fired their coach tonight. They fired him.
Really?
After the game, he's gone. He's done. So
no way. I don't believe
he goes out winning one game, the last game against the Bobcats. Yay!
And we had a loss to Eastern, so we traded losses on our home courts Montana State couldn't hit
Kinda
the
funny.
foul line that night. Man, yeah, we had some troubles, but
We could have won that game too. Like we could have easily won that game.
yeah. So just
Bunch of what ifs, and it matters too because if Eastern doesn't make it to the NCAA tournament, they got the automatic NIT bid. So it does matter.
Yeah, it's
it
a good
continues
point.
your season. It continues your seasons regardless of the outcome of the Big Sky Conference tournament.
And they get to hang a banner, and we don't. So
Also,
that always
true.
means something. Yeah, always means something. All right, Tourney.
I think that wraps it up, man. Hey, thanks for being the R&R Catcast on the ground and also getting some new listeners. Look at you go. Just working it out there
It was so
in
much
Cheney,
fun.
Washington, throwing some triple X suck it motions at people. Whatever you want to call
totally
that thing.
did that to those
Our
19,
generation's
20-year-olds.
dab, basically, right? That was like the
They didn't know
dab
what
of
hit
the
them.
90s. Yeah, they're
They
like,
had
what
no
is that?
clue what I was
are you doing to
doing.
me?
Oh,
All
my
right.
gosh,
Well,
dude,
yeah, go ahead.
I just wish I had better cell service. That thing is like, I couldn't get anybody's text. It was crazy. But I had like so many of our fans text me, including you. It was so much fun. Actually, winning in Cheney was really good.
We did
Go
it.
Cats.
We did it. Go Cats. All right. Let's get out of here, man. Thanks again for listening to our basketball attempts. We try. We don't do basketball as well as football, but hey, we're still big fans. Look at the emotions. Look at the emotions on this podcast. We're still huge fans. We love the Bobcats, regardless of the sport. Thanks again to Manhattan Bank for being our sponsor all year. You can find us on the internet, rrcatcast.com, Twitter, rrcatcast, Instagram, rrcatcast, Facebook, rrcatcast, although we don't really post on Facebook or Instagram all that much. Twitter, if you want to really interact with us, Twitter is going to be your main spot. But all right, Foley, let's get out of here, man. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.